Well, just in your mind, take a moment and count how many Easter morning church services you've been to. Speaking for myself, I am at 33. Anybody here less than 33? Anybody want a couple of you? Anybody more than 33? Wow, there's kind of a whole lot of you. So I did some rough math here, and I didn't know kind of what to go on, so I based it on a group of around 130 people, or more than that, with a very conservative average of about 20 services each. So that means in total, we as a community have listened to approximately 3,250 Easter morning sermons. That's quite a lot. And that doesn't even take into consideration the keeners who go to multiple church services. And you know who you are. So it'd be fair to say that we all know what's coming. We've heard the Easter sermon. And really, does it change all that much? It would not be a stretch to say, or to use the phrase, if you've heard one, you've heard them all. In fact, it surprises me that nobody has ever marketed anything called Easter Sermon Bingo, where you sit, you listen to an Easter sermon, and you cross off typical things that you might hear. Resurrection, sin, forgiveness, eternal life. Bingo! The list could go on. It's kind of very predictable, isn't it? So this morning, I want to do something a little different. Instead of preaching on what we could call the doctrine of the resurrection, I want to tell you about why I believe in the resurrection. And to put it out there, to put it plainly, I believe that the biggest event in history is when the man we know as Jesus of Nazareth rose from the dead. I believe it actually happened. And I believe it for two reasons. The first reason of why I believe in the resurrection is because of you could call the external evidence. And it's not just about what happens around Easter morning, but it's all the evidence that occurs regarding who Jesus was in his life and in his ministry. One of the interesting things about our Easter morning readings is that a lot of it centers on the life of Jesus. In our reading from Acts, Peter goes on and on about how Jesus went about doing good, and he healed many people. He was handed over to be crucified. And we don't have time this morning to go through all the particularities regarding the external evidence regarding Jesus. But here's the gist. It is a historical fact that Jesus of Nazareth existed in history. We are not talking about a make-believe character. We are talking about someone who existed. He is not like the unicorns or tooth fairies of stories. You cannot dispute the physical existence of Jesus any more than you can dispute the physical existence of Julius Caesar, Abraham Lincoln, or Justin Bieber. The fact is, the Bible, as a historical document, is continually validated by external sources and scholars as a true, as a reliable, and an accurate account of the events of history. Jesus lived. Jesus taught. Jesus was a well-known healer and miracle worker. Jesus said some outlandish things that combated religious hypocrisy and defied the Roman government. And in the end, he was crucified, he was executed because of it. Again, all of those things, historical facts. And it leaves us quite with an interesting conundrum. What do you do then about all the sort of God stuff that he said, the divine things he attributed to himself? Famously, C.S. Lewis wrote, "A man who was merely a man and said the sort of things Jesus said would not be a great moral teacher. He would either be a lunatic on the level of a man who says he is a poached egg, or the devil of hell. Either this man was and is the Son of God, or else a madman, or else something worse." Because the point is, you cannot believe, accept, value, or respond to the one who said, turn the other cheek, or love your enemies, and love one another, without believing, accepting, valuing, and responding to the man who said, I and the Father are one. I am the way, the truth, and the life. I am the resurrection. I am the bread which comes down from heaven, and anyone who believes in me has eternal life. And so you're left with, how do you approach this man? It is the resurrection. It is the disappearance of the body of Jesus from the tomb and the appearing of the living Jesus to countless people that speaks to the truth that Jesus was not a mere lunatic. It validates everything that Jesus said about God, about the world, about himself, and about you and I. Now, there's been a whole lot of hypotheses that are sometimes put forward to explain why the body of Jesus wasn't in the tomb. Some people like to say, well, the women got lost. They went to the wrong tomb. They weren't good with the directions. When is the last time a woman has ever gotten lost with directions? Right? Peter, maybe. They say that. Some say, well, the disciples stole the body. Others say, well, Jesus, he kind of only pretended to be dead. He kind of faked it. And then when everybody left, he rolled the stone away himself and kind of ran away. The interesting thing is that all of those you may call ludicrous hypotheses that are an attempt to explain why the body of Jesus wasn't in the tomb actually lend credibility to that undeniable historical reality. The body of Jesus was not in the tomb. Jesus was killed, he was placed in the tomb, and 3 days later, his body wasn't there. But as I said to the kids, it's not just a disappearing act. The body didn't just vanish. The followers of Jesus, starting from the women who went to visit the tomb, and then countless others, began announcing to a world around them that Jesus was alive. And the significance of this is lost on us, we who are familiar with this news on a yearly basis. But the reality was that for both Jewish people and for Greek people, resurrection was completely inconceivable. Look what happens after the crucifixion. Peter, he goes back to fishing. The other disciples, they go into hiding. Other ones, they get out of Dodge and they start walking to the nearby village of Emmaus. Resurrection wasn't on the books. It wasn't part of their belief structure. They weren't thinking about it, expecting it, or hoping for it. Dead was dead, and it was the end of everything that they had known for 3 years. When Jesus died on the cross, no one had any notions or fantasies. Let's hang around for a little bit because maybe he will rise again. N.T. Wright, who is a biblical scholar, he notes that when a leader of a cause, when a leader is executed by the authorities, the followers only have two options. One, give up. Or two, find another leader. N.T. Wright says, claiming that the original leader was alive again was not an option. Unless, of course, he was. All of these things, from the historical credibility of the Bible